to have the finest wedding night any two people ever had.
Oh, wait a minute, Harold. Why don't you go slip into something comfortable?
Good idea.
I'll go in and change.
Come in.
Hi, I'm the bellboy in this sketch.
You're out of luck. I'm the husband.
Now, either you're expecting company or you're wearing Tony Martin's pajamas.
Well, I see you put the champagne down. Here you are, and thank you very much.
Oh, hey, I noticed on the register that you're from my hometown, Bayonne, New Jersey.
Well, actually, I'm from Secaucus, but my wife, Shirley, she's from Bayonne.
Oh, I once knew a girl from Bayonne named Shirley. Shirley Panensky.
Shirley Panensky? That's my wife.
You're kidding. You married Crazy Shirley?
Crazy Shirley?
Yeah, she always said she'd nail a rich man.
Now, just a minute here. Now, we must be talking about two different girls. Now, my wife's first name was Shirley Zelna Bernadette Frobisher Panensky.
That's her. Back in Bayonne, she used to be a beauty queen. In 1968, the American Legion voted her Miss Wednesday Night Smoker.
Miss Wednesday Night Smoker? You know, I always wondered where she went Wednesday night. Look, maybe it's not the same Shirley Zelda Bernadette Frobisher Panensky.
Well, it gotta be. The other one left town 6 years ago. You're getting abroad with a lot of talent. She used to travel with the Les Brown's band.
She was a vocalist?
No, she used to travel with the band. Boy, that Shirley's a great broad. Where is she?
Well, she's inside, so slipping into something comfortable.
Hey, I hope it's that red lacy thing.
You like that better than the blue?
Doesn't everybody? She still kiss with her eyes wide open.
Well, I wouldn't know. I always kiss with my eyes closed.
You kiss Crazy Shirley with your eyes closed? Watch your wallet.
Are you sure this is the same Shirley Zelda Bernadette Frobisher Panensky?
Positive. I'll never forget her. She used to have the cutest way of saying no. Boy, I wish I were in your shoes.
I got a feeling you were. Dear, I've already tipped the bellboy. Dear. Well, if anybody wants me, I'll be standing right here. Dear, I don't want to rush you, but checkout time's at 1 o'clock. My golly, she does kiss with her eyes open. Hey, fella, hey, listen, just a second. I just thought of something. Did the Shirley Zelda Bernadette Frobisher Panensky, you know, did she go to college?
No.
Oh, boy, what a relief. I knew it wasn't.
Thank you for joining us, Liz and Michelle. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you with us today. Obviously, our viewers will know that you are two of the original Golddiggers that worked with Dean back in the 60s and 70s, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. So did you really think all these years later you'd still be talking about Dean or still be even Golddiggers?
Yeah. I'm just happy to be alive right now. So. You do. So it's kind of interesting how it has come to being at 50 years later. It's kind of scary. But,
Yeah.
It's well, Dean Martin is an iconic figure. So being a part of his world and working on his show was a true blessing to be
Yeah.
able to have that happen. So,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just a little girl from Bergenfield, New Jersey. So it was like, oh my goodness, from the suburbs. So it's like, wow, it's a wonderful.
So do you
Wonderful
still
thing to
have
have.
that kind of awe, kind of all these years later?
Do you mean for me to? Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always. It will always be there because even when you are in that space of experiencing him and being so young, it really it doesn't really hit you as much as it does for me now
Hmm.
to look back at it and say, my gosh, this happened, and this it really,
You were really
is
there.
remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, so I was glad to have
Yeah.
experienced that.
And Liz, kind of similar kind of feeling?
Well, it's the same with me. I think the older I get, y- you know, the in-between stage, you just stay so busy,
Mm.
and you don't really have a chance to think about it. And when I was younger and on the Dean Martin show, it was a job. Of course, I was honored, but I really didn't appreciate it until after I was gone from the group and was able to share with people and hear their shock and awe
Mm.
about me having done so many things. And I look back now and, so grateful because my life was so colorful. And same with Michelle, and
Yeah.
she's still entertaining. I don't know quite how she's doing that and looking so young, but
Oh, it's
These two never age.
They don't.
Oh,
You're
I've seen them on
timeless.
Facebook, and they just do not age.
it's young inside.
I
wait,
think
that's
you're right. Yes, absolutely. I'm 84 myself.
Well, yeah, you wait till you get to 50, it's all downhill.
well,
100
I just turned 70 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
And I woke up and I went, wait a minute, what just happened? I don't, like Michelle says, it's in here.
Yeah.
And, for quite a few years, I taught children, and I attribute that to keeping me young.
Yes.
Um,
Do you ever
you
get
know.
tired of talking about it though?
Well, being young or doing
being your career and what you've done.
I don't get tired of it because I think that, and that's why I'm grateful for you, Elliot, is somebody needs to keep the memories alive.
Thank you. Yeah.
Love never dies as long as somebody remembers. And, we are a part of history,
Mm.
and a great history at that, working with many, many icons. And,
Yeah.
no, I don't get tired of talking about it, and especially with my sister Golddiggers, because half of the stuff I've forgotten. And when we all get together, the memories start popping. Somebody
Yes.
will remember something. And,
Yeah.
I look back now and I wish I would have kept a journal like some of the girls,
Mm.
because I hate to say it, but the older I get, my memory is fading.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I suppose it's because you've kind of had so much experience and such a wonderful life after Dean. I suppose it's kind of looking back, you're not melancholy about what you did 50 years ago. It's still with you, and as Michelle said, it's kind of up here, and you kind of keep it, and it makes you young up here. And I suppose to me, that's just part of kind of what Dean is. For me, obviously, I knew him as a child, kind of growing up, kind of through my father, and kind of Ron as well as kind of followed Dean's career since he was a young lad many years ago. And it's just this hold he has over all of us, which is quite remarkable.
I think it's that youthful spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
beautiful spirit, yes.
that youthful spirit that he put across on screen and record and everything else, that
it travels to everybody who listens to him and likes him and engages in that same way. And
absolutely. Kind of watching you girls as well. You just seem to have so much fun. You could not help but not have fun. It was infectious, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. And I think that was his purpose.
Yeah.
To bring joy to people, and that we were all so happy to be able to do it and to be a part of that. It was, that's what entertainment is.
Yeah.
Entertainers are to entertain, and it's in their heart and soul to make joy. Let us, please, dear God, let's make joy.
Yeah. How do you kind of feel that's changed over the years, though? Because you kind of see a lot of entertainers now that use their position as kind of as soapboxes to project their kind of beliefs and so on. And do you think that's right for them to do that, or do you think it's the entertainment industry should be to make people happy and kind of bring joy to everybody?
Well, for me, I think the entertainment industry has changed an awful lot. I look back at some of our old shows, and there aren't any shows like that anymore, with good, clean entertainment that the whole family could watch.
Yeah.
You have to be so careful now with your children and your grandchildren, what they watch on TV. You can't just turn on one of those 3 or 4 channels and let them have at it. It kind of saddens me, but I think it's because I'm older, and those days when we were performing were so iconic. I don't know in the future how the television shows these days will be remembered as well as the ones from our generation.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a kind of the halcyon days of the 60s and the early 70s, and how kind of free and easy it was with kind of expressionism and artistry. And kind of these days, it seems to be that you have to kind of watch what you say. You can't step over certain lines. That's okay. We don't also, we're not out to offend people, of course. But I think so much these days is geared to not offending. And especially with your kind of era, the kind of how you looked, how you dressed, kind of the sexualized kind of dance you did. In those days, it wasn't considered anything untoward. It was just part of the culture and part of society at the time. And I think when kind of you look at society now, when people are so worried about offending people, I think that's when the entertainment suddenly becomes less entertaining.
Agreed.
Yes.
I think there's always parameters, isn't it? But you are right. If in entertainment there's always caution, you can never be free to perform. I mean, I'm not a performer, but that's And on Dean's show that happened. Michelle and Liz were part of that, where for a few years it was far more risque, and then in the early 70s it became very much more, because of feminism and everything. And you were both part of that, where you could sit round Dean dressed in his golfing gear and not touch for a couple of years. Because of that, the NBC censor said, "Oh no, we have to respond to the culture of the day." And that was a sea change in the show, I think, wasn't it? And in terms of entertainment,
of course, those moments when you kind of were down the staircase and he was parodying the song lyrics, and then as Ron said, you suddenly sat on the sofa, and it was all much more clinical and clean, I suppose, one of a better phrase.
Yes, we used to do a number every so often called musical questions.
Yeah.
And they were, it was really cute. He would sing a line, and then we respond, and it was just enough tongue-in-cheek and just enough of a little bit of vaudeville burlesque, but not ever offensive.
A little game of musical questions. It's a funny little game. We love it a lot. As long as you don't out all over.
Don't blame me.
I want to get married. I want to get wed.
Two different worlds. We live in two different worlds.
We have nothing to remember so far, so far.
Give me 5 minutes more. Only 5 minutes more.
I just had my whole body tattooed all over with a map of the United States.
By the time I get to Phoenix, shooting eyes.
Well, girls, no question about. There's no question about it. We must stop all this frivolity and bring on our next guest.
And unfortunately, that was a period where women were beginning to get the strength to say, let us not be objects.
Objects,
you know,
yeah.
of
Yeah.
set decorators.
Yeah.
I heard. And we were beginning to get fan letters that said, you know, this is important issue. Don't have the girls being, you know, used in that way. But it was part of that era, and the girl that would come in and with the bikini on and have a tattoo all over my body.
Yeah.
Did you do that, Liz? Did you
with
do one
the
of those?
script on her tummy, yeah.
You know, it's funny. You know, it's
Yeah.
part of old show, that part of what Jerry and Dean's past was. He came from that part of show business where live theater was, let's make them laugh, and the girls came on to do that kind of thing. It was part of the shtick. So it was funny, and it was everybody knew it was 10 p.m. It was not, you know, it was that time period from 10 to 11 that they figured, well, this is an adult type of show. But it was always, you know, Dean would always make it so it was good, clean fun. It was never, you know, so we did, both Liz and I, we were always in skits that were, you know, gee, you know, it was part of the thing. So it was characters, so it was fun.
You did a lot of acting in sketches together, didn't you? More than just singing and dancing. I mean, I've seen a few with, I think, Michelle more than Liz, like dressed as a tiger with, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh my word, you wouldn't be able to do that these days, would you? You know?
No.
But no, there's one skit that I did with Dean and Frank Sinatra where I was in the boudoir, and I you know, it really didn't hit me until years later somebody put it on YouTube, and I went, did I actually do that? did I really get the seriousness? You know, it's like, okay.
Was there ever a point where you thought even then that the things you didn't want to do and the producers were kind of crossing the line? I'm kind of getting that Greg Garrison was very respectful of what you wanted to do and what Dean was prepared to do.
Greg Garrison was very protective of Dean.
Yeah.
And that he was very much into what Dean was doing. The girls were like a separate entity, as far as I would say. You know, we would work the show. We would do, basically, we would have to, you know, be good for Lee Hale, the musical director, and for the choreographer.
Yeah.
And Greg Garrison. And he had his rules and regulations too. It was a very, very different type of directing.
Yes.
He liked you a certain way, and that's the way, you know, he had his vision. He was a visionary as far as even how the girls should look and what they should do and how they should perform. So,
yeah.
I think that he knew what the audience wanted. And when we got together with Dean, it was like, that was even probably what made it more exciting and unusual. I'm sorry I'm talking so much here, Liz. It's just like, he was just like all enthralled about seeing everybody. And it was like, oh, hi. And then it was like, well, let's sing together. And I would sing and he would kind of listen and look and kind of, it was so enchanting in that sense. He was really, for me, I don't know about everyone else, but the star from afar. And when he came in, it was this magical moments. And then off he would go to his dressing room or his life. And it was like, wow, that just happened. So it was enchanting.
It really was. I agree with Michelle, but in answer to your question, I never did anything I felt uncomfortable with. I was happy to be working, and I come from the old school. You go to work, you do your job, and that's it. You say yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And, that's where I was coming from. But we were very, very young. And we come from the days where you did not talk back, and, we came in from strict backgrounds. And Greg was very strict. And like Michelle said, he had his rules. I do remember one time we were on the road and Greg wasn't with us, but I got a phone call saying, don't ever leave the hotel room again without your makeup.
Wow.
I mean, we were pretty well supervised back in those days.
But I suppose as a result of that, you were protected and looked after. So I suppose there's a kind of a double-edged sword to it, really, where you weren't actually controlled, I'd imagine, but you had to kind of follow the line to some extent. But that did make sure that you were looked after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So how did you both get into the business?
I had a fairy tale story. My ultimate goal in life was to work with Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
From the very first time I saw him, I got in my head that I was going to work with Gene Kelly. And I saw shortly after I moved to Los Angeles, I was 17, and I saw in the trade papers there was an audition for the Gene Kelly show, Wonderful World of Girls. And I thought, oh, well, I just left Kansas City. I was the big fish in the little pond. I didn't have to audition anymore because I was very good. And, I kind of had this head. And so I'll never forget it. I put on my white knee-high go-go boots, my hair in 2 high pigtails, a bright red leotard. My face was covered in zits. I go to this audition, and there's like a gazillion girls there, and I'm like, what is happening? I had no idea about typecasting at all. What is that? And they go down the line, they say, thank you, go away, thank you very much for coming. Well, they came to me and I'm there with my big smile and my big red leotard and my zits, and they said, thank you very much. And I was like, what? And I went out in the hallway and I lost it. I mean, the big ugly cry with the alligator tears. And this big burly man came over and sat by me and asked me why I was crying. And I said, because I've always wanted to work with Gene Kelly and I went on, and he asked me if I could dance. And I said, yes. And he asked me if I could sing. And I said, no, I dance better than I could sing, but I could sell a song. And it turns out this man was Greg Garrison.
Okay.
I didn't get the television special, but he asked me, sight unseen, dancing or hearing me sing, if I wanted to go to Las Vegas for the Gene Kelly Wonderful World of Girls show in Las Vegas. And I said, well, yes. He asked me how old I was, and I lied. I said 18. And when we got to Vegas, I didn't know you had to do this, but you had to go to the sheriff's department and get a sheriff's card to prove that you were in show business rather than being a working girl.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I got there, I had to prove my age. Well, that was the first time I got in trouble with Greg Garrison because I had lied. But the good news is I turned 18 during the run of the show. And so somehow managed to get around that. But basically, I got discovered in the basement of NBC crying my eyeballs out.
That was serendipitous, you might say.
That was God working on my side.
What was it about Gene Kelly, though? Why Gene Kelly? What attracts you to him?
Singing in the rain.
Yeah.
I wanted to dance with an umbrella in the rain.
Wow.
No, he
I
was
do,
just,
but I can't dance.
Just because it was Gene Kelly and the way he danced and his style and, you know, the charisma. I mean, it was like working with Dean Martin, you know. Gene Kelly was at the top of my list, though, to work with. And I, by the grace of God, got that my very first job out of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
That's fascinating. So it's almost kind of like the kind of the original American dream that where you want something, you go for it, and you've got it, and it's just wonderful. It's certainly not an English part of culture, is it, Ron? Where you see something and know you're going to get there.
No, it's not.
It's wonderful to hear. I've got lots of American friends, and they kind of have very similar stories about following their dreams and wanting to aspire to certain levels of success, and whether that's kind of personally or financially. And it's wonderful how it just becomes so easy for a lot of people. And I really admire you and Michelle, Liz, for how well you kind of made your careers. It's absolutely amazing. You're just a testament to success. You really are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we try to emulate it in the UK, but it never quite works in the same way because of the whole culture difference.
Yes, I think we're too upright and too stiff the way we kind of feel about things.
I think we're still, I don't want to get political, but, class ridden in the sense that you stay where you are and you don't move.
Yeah.
Within your sphere. You can move within the sphere, but that's it.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. If Kansas was in England, we just stay in Kansas and never leave Kansas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I'm actually from Missouri.
Okay. But the analogy is kind of there. It's kind of you stay where you're based, basically, and to move. So, Michelle, what's your story? How did you get to where you are now?
Oh, with the grace of God. I auditioned in New York City, and I just got out of high school. I had a short run with being a dancer at the Copacabana, and they said no more dancers. They didn't have the financial backing anymore. So that was the end of that. And I was in New York. There was a trade paper called Backstage. And there it was, needed one girl for the Golddiggers summer show, audition here. So I went to this huge open call. And it was a cattle call, they call it.
Yep.
Hundreds of girls. And it was like jammed in this green room and getting ready, it's hundreds of girls. And then I go into the bathroom and some girl said, oh, they're not taking any tall girls. And so I went, oh dear, because I'm 5'9", and I thought, well, anyway. So and then I saw other girls coming in and out, putting wigs on, and it's like, finally I get into the room, and Greg had it again. He has this process where we'd stand up, line up like we were, star horses or something. And he looked at each girl, and each girl he kind of looked around, and he says, "I'm looking for girls with sparkle in their eyes." And I thought, what in the world does sparkle in the eyes mean? So, and sure enough, when he gets to me, he goes, And I had just finished working at the Copa, and my makeup was probably more for the, showgirl type. And he goes, "Are you in a Broadway show?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, get that cockamamie rouge off your face." And I said, "Oh, that was it." So I'm trying to get myself organized, and then I came back in the room, and we had leotards and tights, which it was all the aura that you had presented. And then he says, "I'm keeping you, and tomorrow I want you to come back. I want you to sing something and bring your tap shoes and dance shoes, and then we'll do the thing." The next day I come back. So it was the first time I met Jonathan Lucas, who was the choreographer, which was a trip in itself. Here he was with his black tight shirt on, black pants, and black cowboy boots, and he says, "I want you to do this combination." So I'm trying to get my feet together. And then we did turns and blah 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 blah, and then I love Julie Andrews. When I saw, I just thought, oh, I want to be just like Julie. So I thought, I'll sing "I Have Confidence, I Have Confidence." So I sang that, and I did a few harmony things, and they broke it down to about, I guess it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls from the New York area.
Yeah.
And then Greg Garrison said, "Well, for now we're just taking one girl, and Michelle." And I was 18 as well, and I couldn't believe that I got it. So the next day I went home, and my mother cried. She says, "Oh, you're not ready to leave." And my dad said, "I'm going to come with you," being the little Italian man that he is, or was, God bless him. He said, "I'm coming with you. I'm going to talk to this Greg Garrison." So there I was, greener than green. I mean, even though I was in this aura of the show business, and because my mother and father also were in the business, they even worried more so. And my father's a musician, so he was going, "Oh my gosh." So, and the next day my father came and says, "Greg, will you take care of my daughter? Treat her like she's your daughter." And he said, "I will treat her like she's my daughter."
Wow.
And off I was, flying never left Bergenfield, New Jersey, really. Maybe to go to Detroit, Michigan, but that was about it. And I was flying to Hollywood, and I signed the old 7-year contract. And that was it. That's my story, how it all happened. And I was there with the choreographer and the music director and Janet Ty, who was the secretary at that time, and Greg Garrison. And talk about a magic carpet ride for 7 years. It was unreal. And it was my 7 years of learning truly what is, what I wanted and what happened. And then just meeting Dean for the first time was incredible, and singing the first time with him, and it was just went so fast.
Yeah.
It was like warp speed. Okay.
Was Dean kind of what you expected him to be?
When I first met him, we were the opening act for Pat Paulson in Reno or something, and then we went to, I think it was Vegas or maybe Reno as well, because Dean did not like to fly at all, so it was like, as long as he would be close by LA, he was happy.
Yeah.
But I remember all of a sudden there was this commotion in the hallway. We were in our little green room, you know, the Golddiggers, and then all of a sudden these people, he had a whole entourage walking across the hallway, and you know, Mort Feiner, I don't know, all these people, and then that was the first time I saw him, and I said, oh, that was Dean. But the first time I really got to see him was on his set, where the Golddiggers were guests, and that was unbelievable. And all I could think of is, wow, he's really handsome in person. and his shoes and his pinky ring.
Yeah.
And just his whole demeanor was, you know, the king of cool, and so suave and debonair. You know,
that whole moniker about, you know, the king of cool, and kind of, I think at some point it was certainly kind of in the 90s, kind of, or late 90s, kind of early 2000s. There's something quite cliched about it, but I think really it's the ultimate description of him.
Yeah.
Yes. He would just, it was very effortless for him.
Yeah.
And that's the key of the great art to me, is the effortlessness of his, just let me sing right now. You know, he just, he was so funny, really, off camera too. You know, he was just, he loved it, and you could tell.
Yeah.
At the end, though, when things started to change, I could feel the light within him kind of change, but I knew that he was born to do what he was. I just thought, wow. And here I am sitting right next to him, and he's going, come on, sing. I'm going,
There's great moments even now you can pick up on YouTube between the two of you, where you're singing with Dean, or he's singing, or you're singing, and he's just making eye contact and a nudge and a giggle and throwing a line in, and just trying to throw it a little bit to make fun and lighten it, and you know, and it's just, there's no one in the entertainment business doing anything like that these days, with that kind of just that's just, and to see you enjoying that, it's not affected, it's not rehearsed, it's not, you know, stilted, it's just magic, and it still comes through today. Absolutely comes through today.
Thanks,
so Liz,
Ryan.
when you first met Dean, what was your impression of him?
I first met Dean on the set. We were getting ready to sing, and it was my first time ever being with a studio audience in the studio. I was a wreck. All I could do was smile, and Greg Garrison brought me out and introduced me to the whole audience, and all I could do was smile, and then my lip got stuck to my teeth, my knees were shaking, and then Dean came out, and I was like, and I basically froze till the music came on. I just was like, this can't be real, you know? The good news is, I had worked with so many people here in Kansas City, and they ended up being on the Dean Martin show, like Dom DeLuise. I worked with him, I think the first time in 1965, and several times after that. And so that kind of eased my nerves a little bit, because there were people there I knew, but I had no idea that they were stars, you know, because we had been in a working atmosphere before. Tommy Tune was here in Kansas City for several years, you know, so all those people were there. But the first time I met Dean, I just remember him being so kind and making you feel at ease.
Yeah.
Like Michelle said, he was just charismatic and real.
Mhm.
Just like us talking to each other.
Yeah.
He wasn't the star of the show. He was one of us. And yeah, I felt a lot of love.
Yeah.
And I was starstruck.
Yeah. And I think that's why I was going to ask you kind of later, why do you think his legacy has stood the test of time? And I think that's kind of probably why it has, because as kind of Ron said, we kind of watch the episodes on YouTube now, and you can see he just oozes this effortless coolness. And I think, what guy doesn't want to be like Dean, and what girl doesn't want to know Dean? It's just he's just an incredible man. He really is. And kind of following his career from when I was a child up to kind of now, I certainly have an appreciation for him in a slightly different way, because his interaction with my father when we were running the Dean Martin Association, and it's kind of in our heyday, kind of the late 60s, 70s into kind of the beginning of the 80s. Dean was very much kind of hands-on with us, and it was quite astonishing to know that this huge Hollywood star would phone my dad up on a Sunday night. Hi, Bernard, how you doing? So you had your own series, didn't you, out away from the Dean Martin show? How did that come about? Was it Greg kind of wanting to keep you going away from the Dean Martin show once that had kind of turned into the roasts?
They did have a summer show. So in those days, you know, they
it was a replacement. It was a replacement, wasn't it, from the Dean Martin show? Yeah.
Right, it was their hiatus, and they said, well, let's have a summer replacement show. And I guess Greg, I don't know, before my, I really got aware of it in 68, because I joined in 1969. But I guess that Lee Hale, they wanted something different, and I guess the girls, and they had other stars as well, as far as I know. They had Frank Jr. and Joey Heatherton. It started, with that, and then they had the real original Golddiggers, I guess, started in 68, I think. And that's when I saw the show while I was in high school, and I said, wow, imagine. And it was so wonderful. They did skits and musical numbers, and as far as I know, they wanted to start it like on the Bugsby Berkeley Girls. My God, I can't even get that out. So they wanted that kind of 1930s kind of style of the girls, like they had, in those old Ziegfeld movies. And so they decided to call, I think Lee Hale was the one that decided to call the girls the Golddiggers. And even when I started out, it was more, the shows were very into the music of the 20s and 30s. And then, from Shuffle Off to Buffalo and You're the Cream in My Coffee and all these fun songs that we would do. And at that time, Tommy Tune was also on the show too. So, and Gail Martin was on it. And so it was a variety. And then luckily the girls would have a featured number, several of them, and do an opening number and then like a closing number and song, and be part of many skits and things like that. And so that's how I guess it started. I know there's probably more to the story.
Yeah.
And I don't know
course,
exactly, but it was part of Lee Hale's, I think, decision with Greg, to create a different themed summer show. So, and then by the time we started getting more into the pop scene and when I first started, it was still very much, well, we were wearing jackets showing our legs and the little hats, that were, with a gangster look, I guess, I don't know. And then, we actually had jumpers and blouses. It was very, the college Glee Club girls. Yeah. And then all of a sudden in 1970, it was like, ba, 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 ba. Then it suddenly was, and that was from London. And that was when, I loved being in London. I
Great
just
place.
loved it. Oh my gosh, with
Yeah.
Marty, Marty, Marty Feldman.
Feldman, yeah.
He
Yeah,
was
with
genius.
crazy eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and Julius Chagrin, is he still doing comedy? At that time he was. And then
Yes.
he did a lot of skits and things too. And we hired two girls from London. We had auditions, and
Yeah.
we got Wanda Bailey and Pauline Anthony, and we kept. Greg decided to keep them and bring them back to the States. So, but oh, I loved being there. We were at Pinewood Studios
Wow.
there, and we lived on Collingwood Street,
Mhm.
and we had our flats. And
How did you did you kind of get into the veterans kind of side by accident, or was it a choice, or was it what the producers were kind of asking you to do?
my mom and dad met in USO.
Mhm.
So my dad was a drummer and he was a medic, and he played in the Navy band.
Yeah.
And my mother was a dancer, and she did her solo dancing for the guys and traveled all around. So that background, I had that within me, you know, to want to entertain the troops. But my first when the Golddiggers were asked to be with Bob, I think he had seen the girls, you know, and the fact that what is so wonderful about all the girls is that they come from all different places in the United States. And each girl has their beautiful, unique being, you know,
Yeah.
tall ones, short ones, everybody, blonde, brunette, you know, which appeals to every GI, you know, my gosh, she looks like, now she reminds me of you know,
Yeah.
so it was perfect.
We all
Perfect
have a type.
blending.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I tell you, getting ready for that show and going out there, oh my gosh, that
Yep.
was incredible. From even having to get the typhoid shots and whatever, to watching how it was all put together and making the show happen. And I just recently, not to be a ham bone here, but
Oh, please.
I'm a ham bone. This doctor, he has written 2 books, and I should have had the books in front of me. Contacted the Vietnam veterans in New York, and he was a surgeon in Vietnam. And I was there, and we went into one of the hospitals, and he took a picture of me, and I don't even remember that moment, but I do remember that time transformed me, because I was coming in from the atmosphere of peace and love, and you want to fight war, and you know how it was very difficult, because that time of the love beads, and you know, my peers here in the States,
make love not war kind of thing. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, you know, seeing this, and how many young boys my age that took it,
Yeah.
and said, I was asked to do this, and it was in their soul, you know. Some of them maybe not, but still they did it. And that's why Bob, you know, he never wanted war, but he did want, again, here we are with the entertainment, what it does to heal and to help and to serve. And that was our way of really serving.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I felt.
Was that kind of an epiphany for you when you realized that the career you chose, and that was almost kind of why you did it when you got to that point?
I realized that it was not just the cocoon with the living of Hollywood and that whole Dean Martin show thing. This was walking into a reality of history, of a war, and being able to to see the truth.
Yeah.
What was really happening.
Yeah.
And so many GIs, that were there, and knowing that, will they be coming home? Will they be able to call their moms or their sweethearts? And
Yeah.
it's just this is what I want to perform. It's like, this is the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what, and Bob, he connected with those boys like I've never seen anything. He did his homework. He studied each platoon or wherever we went. And, oh my gosh, and every entertainer couldn't wait to do it. And we, all the girls too.
Yeah.
It rained, it's cold, freezing in Korea, hot as hell in Guam, but the hey, it was just, so that I had to, for a long time it was, different. I was in a different world and different universe. And then one day, I got a call from one of the gentlemen who, and this is years later, and he said, we're doing a convention for the Vietnam veterans, and I see you're still trying to, I'm still trying to keep my kicks up. So, yep. So he said, would you mind doing the Funky Chicken? I said, oh my gosh, the Funky Chicken. And I said, well, he said, could you get the other girls maybe to see if they would want to do it for our national convention? And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this happen, call the girls, see what we can do. And that was Wes Goodry, and and you met him, and it started a ball rolling where, we did it. We did the number, and he featured the original number, and I had an entirely new soundtrack, and then we did a modern version of it with Susie. She agreed, and Wanda, and Tara, she retired, the brunette. She said, no, Michelle, I'd love to, but I put the dancing shoes up a long time ago. I said, oh, but so there we were.
Yeah.
And it started the ball rolling, and that's how Blue Eyed Soul started too, from that. And I just find it, you need someone to sing the national anthem, and that's a God thing for me.
Yeah.
God Bless America. March 26th, is it? It's for Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Day here in New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so it's still very much in your heart to do this.
Oh, yes.
Still, yeah.
And I read the names that of the fallen, which is and I've sung Amazing Grace, and I just I feel like they're on the other side saying, yes, Michelle, we remember you, and most of the times it's been a full circle experience for these vets. I remember you. I was hanging on a pole looking at you. I said, oh yes, it's like, thank God, that I'm still alive and I can continue to do what I'm doing.
So basically I'm retired, and all my spare time that I have now goes to the veterans.
Okay.
Like Michelle, I left here to go to Vietnam at 18 years old. And to me, war was something you just saw in the little tube on television.
Yeah.
Or somebody talked about it because they read the newspaper. And to me, it was like, well, when I got to Vietnam, it changed who I was going to be for the rest of my life. suddenly all that glitz and glamour didn't mean so much to me anymore. And I don't know why it got to the core of me, but it humbled me. Suddenly, things that I thought were important weren't important anymore. And, you know, I too came from well, my parents weren't entertainers, but my dad was a flying tiger with General Chennault in World War II.
Okay.
My mom was full-blooded Chinese, and he smuggled her out of China on an airplane. And she was in a pilot suit, and he smuggled her back to the States. But, you know, being around a Marine growing up, I always had a good respect for the military. Just hearing my dad speak about it and the places he'd been and what he'd seen, and you know, and then when I got a chance to go to Vietnam with the Bob Hope show, of course my mom cried and didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
But my dad said, "You've got to do this," you know. And I remember on the plane ride over, we got to give names of people that we knew over there. And one of the very first guys I ever dated from high school was over there, and I gave his name. Turned out he was in the demilitarized zone, and the MPs went to pick him up and brought him backstage to the show. And he was 6'2", and when he saw me, he collapsed in my arms. And he was not the young man that I dated. He was broken. And I think seeing that and how it changed him made me want to work with the veterans.
Yeah.
When I got home.
Yeah.
And so I continued my work. Of course, I'm not as brave as Michelle. I won't get on stage and sing for them, but I do a lot of volunteer work. Mostly I give hugs and a lending ear, because even to this day, you would be surprised at how many of those veterans have never talked about their time in Vietnam. I think you've probably found that too, Michelle.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, and when you can sit there and have a man my age cry in your arms because he's finally opening up. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the journey that you've both been on to get to this point now, where you have still so much passion, and you both come across as so incredibly caring people, and I just think that's wonderful, because kind of what I was kind of alluding to at the beginning of this, where your entertainment industry today is different, and it's so quick and disposable. Kind of you two have got so much of a core about your sensibilities and right from wrong, and I think it's just wonderful. And again, going back to kind of the legacy of Dean, I think all of this, how you two are now and what Dean was and what Dean still means to people like me and you and Ron, it's just it's not just a snapshot of time that used to be. It's a kind of into a looking glass into the kind of the way that we should be.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's a nice way to put it.
We're touching on something where entertainment is so deep and meaningful in so many people's lives when it's done at whatever level, whether it's highbrow or whatever, you know, in that kind of way. And, you know, Lizzie, you said, you know, as, you know, brave as to get on the stage, but you know, I think Michelle would say, obviously, you hold a veteran in your arms and you touch their soul is the best of entertainment, isn't it? And that's what you're trying to do in the best way. And I think, you know, almost this now sounds trivial, you know, going back to Dino, I think he had that ability to do that to people at his own level and as a person. But as you said, Lizzie, you know, moving from the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas and money and pizzazz and all that to the reality of life, going over to, you know, however many hundreds, you know, thousands of miles away to a swamp where men are, and yet providing entertainment, you touch the soul in some way that brings them alive in the darkest places, and yet can still do that 50 years later where they still need it. I think it's just phenomenal. I really do. I'm passionate about that. You know, it's like, and you know, it's almost, and we're talking about God kind of stuff, but it's a spiritual experience in that way. It's emotional, it's powerful, deeply psychological. You know, I used to work in mental health before I did this job. And you know, it's all connected in that kind of way, isn't it? We can't compartmentalize this in that way. What we do with, you know, you've got, you know, Elliot, you've got the LP there behind you. Let's be friendly. Yeah, if the world took that on board, you know, we'll be in a different place, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Everywhere, and people would. So, you know, you're getting a sermon now, but you know, it's this is really, you know, what goes from the seemingly trivial in the entertainment business or the trivialized into what's real and deep and meaningful in people's lives that changes their lives for better.
Can I just say something about Liz?
Of course.
As a performer, I loved working with her because the energy, you know, when she would dance, you know, the support, you know, even though, you know, you were always there to support if I was singing or something, or we were all dancing, it was fun because we would communicate and have a good time together. And that too was, love you, Liz.
I love you too, Michelle, and I miss you. She was like my mother hen.
That's
Michelle.
right, I'm a year older than Liz.
Yeah, but she kind of took me under her wing. I was a little bit of a wild child.
And you roomed with my sister, Tanya. My sister, Tanya, was also a gold digger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss her.
Yeah.
Have you ever, what was the other one? Dingalings.
The Dingalings. Yes, you must talk about the Dingalings.
Yeah.
Dingaling. Yes.
When you were a Dingaling, Michelle.
Yes.
They happened for a shorter period of time, didn't they?
Well, it's interesting. That's a whole nother story, but they took, they decided to have the four girls. Greg decided to take us out of the Golddiggers. Myself, Tara, and Wanda, and Susie. We made the Dingalings, and they wanted the Dingaling Sisters. Please, I didn't like the Dingalings, but I guess that was part of the gag.
Yeah.
I'll never live it down. But otherwise, we were regulars on the show. So, and Greg Garrison's son said they needed something for the younger generation, especially the younger men. Oh my! So, so we just started numbers like Lucretia McEvil and Tennessee Stud, and quite an interesting array of songs. And that's how it started. And I stayed with the Dingaling Sisters on the Dean Martin show. There was another change, and then there was another change, and then I left to be a soul sister for a while.
Yeah.
And then came back to be a Dingaling sister. So anyway, I was very, very blessed and happy that, you know, I had that time.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. Now, weren't the Dingalings originally a joke with Jack Benny?
No.
So I remember there was, I remember there was a sketch where Jack Benny was surrounded by old ladies.
Yes,
and
that
he
is
said,
very
these are
funny.
my dinglings, and Dean said they haven't got much ding left in them.
You know, That was a specialty number that was done probably, that was when I left to be with the Soul Sisters, and I think it was with Helen and Jane Kennedy and Tara and Lynn Latham, Tara Lee. So there was this other group, but they decided to use that because he was a guest on the show with Dean.
Okay. Yeah.
It was very funny. Yes.
Yeah.
That was probably a year or so later after that, maybe 2 years after the Dingaling Sisters started working regularly.
Super.
Yes, this is my From the Soul, which I sing at St. Mark's Church in the Bowery here, so I do a lot of, inspirational songs, and that's where my heart is too. So that's one. I put this one together, which is a mixed bag of melodies.
That's the latest one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that picture of you,
It's
Michelle.
wonderful picture. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Thanks.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We performed with Dina for Dean's 100th birthday celebration in Vegas.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. I imagine that was. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, it's-
Michelle,
It's been
I'm
lovely.
so happy to see you.
Yes, likewise. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we shall let you go. Much love to both of you and to you, Rob.
Yeah, it's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along. Yeah, it's a good day. How can anything go wrong? Good day from morning till night. Yes, it's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Everything to gain and nothing to lose, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun, rise and shine today. You know you got to get going if you're gonna make a show. You know you got to